Hello there. 2020 will be the real year of Brexit, and we then have the opportunity to turn the next decade into the UK's roaring 20s. Well, a happy new year to everyone. And firstly, as ever, please kick that YouTube algorithm up the jacksie by giving this video a big, fat like. Midnight tonight marks what I believe will turn out to be the roaring 20s for the UK. The next 10 years will see the UK transformed as it shrugs off the last of the rusty EU shackles and the realisation dawns that we really can go it on our own. And the very first few years will be crucial in the formation of a once again proud and prosperous, but more importantly, sovereign UK. And while the pro-EU rejoin campaign flounders in the past, the rest of us can get on and make Brexit work for the country and for us. So over the next 31 days, do not waste your time arguing about the merits of Brexit with the Remainers and soon-to-be rejoiners. Because as of the 1st of February, the rejoiners are the ones that must make their case for the UK to rejoin the European Union. They must make the case for paying the EU billions every year. They must make the case for joining the euro. They must make the case for open borders within the Schengen zone. But having made their decision, the vast majority of UK voters will not be listening to those rejoiners. What the rest of us have to do is move ahead and work to make the best lives for ourselves and the UK that we can, because by just doing that we will make a success of Brexit. And when I say the rest of us, I mean everyone in the UK. Workers, managers, directors, civil servants, teachers, police officers, those that legitimately come here for safety or for a better life. Everyone. Even bankers, estate agents, traffic wardens and politicians. The UK is a wonderful country and we should rightly be proud of it. And we should be proud to fly the UK flag, proud to sing the national anthem and be proud of who we are. And we should give short shrift to those that would do us down, either nationally or internationally. We must insist on one nation, one legal system, where all people are truly equal before the law, where no one gets either a hand up or are held back solely on the colour of their skin or their gender. And the police should never again feel constrained by the pressures of political correctness or other political concerns to not follow through properly on any criminal investigation. And we have taken the first steps in that direction. Even that pro-EU organ, the Financial Times, is now telling us how the UK can prosper after Brexit. Brexit presents a challenge for Britain's economy, but this is no time for doom-mongering, its editorial board writes. And what it advocates is that the UK economy must stay international, but it must also support the left behind. And it finishes by saying that with good governance the UK economy will survive, as it is more diversified, flexible and robust than many think. Now be in no doubt that for the last 3.5 years since the 2016 EU referendum, the UK has been engaged in a massive internal struggle over whether we should actually exit the EU or not. The referendum itself was not enough. Up against a powerful Remain lobby and 48% of the electorate, the country had to really prove that its voters wanted to leave. Something indicated by the 2017 general election that left our political system in limbo. And at the beginning of 2019, it was obvious that something had to give. And the first indications of the true mood of the country came with the stunning victory by Nigel Farage and his Brexit party in the EU Parliament elections in May. And by the time of the general election on the 12th of December, just 19 days ago, the position of the UK electorate had become crystal clear. Without that clarity, I think we would have slowly been re-immersed into the EU, something I suspect the voters also knew. And now starts a new chapter for the UK and its people, with the first statement to be made being that we are who we are. No more apologies. No more PC and SJW-induced self-loathing. No more listening to those that wish to divide the Scots, the Northern Irish, the Welsh and the English from each other. Across the country, from Outstack to St Agnes and from Belleek to Ness Point, I believe that the coming years will see a renewed belief in the UK. A renewed belief in ourselves and that we, here in the UK, have the answers to our own problems. It will also be the time when we at last remove the almost self-imposed fetters of political correctness and ditch common purpose in favour of that indefinable quality of common sense. And we will also have regained one right that the EU could never offer us in a million years. The right and ability to decide our own sovereign constitutional affairs. Unconstrained by Brussels, we can decide how our country is governed and who governs it and when. We can shape our own institutions to serve us in the way we want, in the knowledge that they will not be hamstrung by a foreign power. But all of this will also need our input. We will need to keep a wary eye on all our politicians and those they appoint. We must be vocal when they get it wrong and also make it clear what we want. It is only through a lazy, blind belief in these politicians or the parties they represent that we the people allow stupid and bad things to be done on our behalf. And with this in mind, there are a couple of laws that I would like to see passed very early on in the new year. The first is an updated and properly thought through treason law to prevent people thinking they can just jet off abroad to work quite brazenly and openly against the interests and the democratic will of this country. The second law I'd like to see would be a wider version of the 2011 European Union Act. If you remember, the 2011 European Union Act was put in place to force a UK referendum before any more powers could be handed over to Brussels, a safeguard for what remained at the time of the nation's sovereignty. I would like a new Act of Parliament along those lines that states that Parliament is sovereign, that it can never ever surrender that sovereignty, that it can never ever share sovereignty in any manner, and that it can never allow another state to exercise our own sovereignty over us in any manner. With a law like that in place, the only way that we could ever sign up to something like the European Union ever again would mean that this new Sovereignty Act would have to be repealed or amended in some manner, making it absolutely clear to the people of the UK what was going on. So any move to make the UK a star on someone else's flag would have to be done with the full knowledge and agreement of Parliament and ultimately the electorate. Never again must we allow subterfuge, obfuscation and downright lies to take us into another overarching body like the European Union. So a piece of legislation that would alert us to that possibility is, I think, in order. Another law I would like to see is to legislate for freedom of expression. Any restraint on freedom of expression is a restraint on imagination and free thought. So any restraint on expression must be well founded, not based on weak, safe space thinking. And in the UK, this should be achieved by ensuring that the police only look into tightly defined crimes, not expanding their activities into thought crimes. Distasteful or hurty speech on social media may be nasty, but unless it incites a crime, it should not attract the attention of the authorities, nor should it result in any instantaneous reaction by a social media platform to stop hurt feelings. Without a law like this, any reprieve we have from the PC Brigade right now will only be temporary in nature. And finally, I'll leave you with another little thought for the future. The pro-EU lobby, as well as Brussels itself, has been harping on for ages that Brexiteers want to ditch all human and workers' rights to undercut the European Union. You must abide by our rights in order to trade with the EU, they say. You must sign up to our rules to have a trade deal, they insist. Well, my answer would be that it works both ways. If undercutting is so wrong, then we must tell the EU there will be no deal until they legislate to pay their workers the same minimum wage that our employers are legally obliged to pay their workers. Because without that, EU companies are at a potential advantage because their wage bills could be lower. Let's see the EU match the announced UK increase to the minimum wage of 6.2% to £8.72 an hour, which is 3 or 4 times the rate of inflation. Tell the EU that not legislating to give their workers across the EU the same holiday entitlement as our workers get is potentially undercutting the UK. Once again, this puts EU companies at an advantage because they can get more time per year from each worker as well as at a lower cost. Tell them that not legislating to give their workers the same maternity and paternity leave as ours get is them undercutting the UK for exactly the same reasons. Tell them that by not putting at least 2% of their GDP into defence for NATO is undercutting the UK. Because as far as I can see, the truth is that the UK has been the one that's been undercut by many other EU states for all these years. At the end of the day, the nightmare that was life under the liberal elite's political correctness will start to fade as we use our newfound independence to throw off the yoke of the thought police, giving way to hope. A hope for a brighter future where we can articulate our own thoughts without fear of that knock on the door from a PC. Hope for a new political system that is shorn of the outdated left-right dogma and instead focuses on the needs and the will of the people and delivering policies to carry out the will of the people no matter where that policy is categorised on the political spectrum. Hope that all people of these shores are subject to the same rule of law. Hope that our streets become safe to walk once more without fear of being attacked as we regain full control of our criminal justice system. Hope that our public services infrastructure, such as the NHS, will be more than sufficient to meet the needs of our population. Hope that our traditional cultural values that have been formed over thousands of years are allowed to breathe once more in the open air and not be placed on the naughty step by those that wish to degrade our nation. So let's take a running leap into this year ahead, filled with hope and the infinite possibilities of our own potential as we burst into 2020. We can do this. And I would like to thank all my viewers and supporters very much for your incredible support over the last year or so. Even to my haters and trolls, I wish you the very best in this new year. You may disagree with everything I say, but that is your right. So a happy new year to you as well. But I would especially like to extend my thoughts and heartfelt wishes to anyone who is alone, in pain, or suffering for any reason as we go into 2020. In the coming year, apart from the trade talks, our main battle will not now be with Brussels, but with those that would still wish to damage or split up our United Kingdom. We must not allow that to happen. No, let's make this next decade the roaring 20s for the whole UK and its people. Are you ready to do your part? Please share and comment, and thank you for watching.